Calling all CATESOLers. TESOL 2025 will be in Long Beach, California, and so it's our opportunity to represent. Hi, I'm Margi Wald, and along with Susan Gaer, we've put together a set of tips and strategies to help you write your proposal for TESOL 2025. But don't wait. The deadline is June 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is 2 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss your opportunity. Join us for a wonderful conference and a wonderful set of presentations. Add your voice to the conversation. TESOL has created a very helpful fillable PDF worksheet to use as you craft your proposal for submission. On this slide, you'll see both a long URL and a QR code, both of which will bring you to the top page for all the proposal information for TESOL 2025. If you want to find the fillable PDF, scroll down to the list of important documents. If you're ready to go, or once you're ready to go, click Submit Proposal. You will have to create an account. The account is free, but it is necessary in order to access the proposal submission form. The first thing you need to do is select a strand for your proposal. So a strand refers to a topic or content area. It's really essential, because this is how you will be assigned reviewers, that you pick a strand that best fits the major takeaway focus of your presentation. So let's think about my area that I often talk about at conferences. I often propose things about writing assignments informed by corpus findings. So when I look at these and I think, wow, do I want to do digital learning and technologies, or do I want to do reading, writing, and literacy, or do I want to do materials development and publishing? Well, the writing assignments, okay, they are assignments. I am developing materials, but I think it's really more for people who are really thinking about what to do in classrooms and how to approach the teaching of writing as informed by corpora. So I'm probably not going to do materials development, and I'm probably not going to choose digital learning and technologies, because that's really focusing on a lot of the specific ways in which people might create corpus findings, the ways in which they use the digital tools. So I'm really going to pick reading, writing, and literacy for the things that I am going to submit. So the other thing to remember is that the people who read your proposal in this strand have some content knowledge, but maybe not complete expertise in the specifics of your content. So you want to write to a general audience, you want to define terms, you want to explain approaches, you want to give some citations, especially if a reviewer wants to take a look at some of the readings in this area if they lack some specific knowledge or expertise. Now, I know you're thinking, what about my level that I'm teaching? How do I know that somebody with K-12 background is going to read my proposal and not somebody like me from the university? There is a question later on that focuses on that, and the strand coordinator will try to find someone to review who has knowledge of both your content area and your level. But also note that it's not always possible given the sheer number of proposals, which is why it's important that you think about your audience and you think about giving some explanation of things to help the reviewer follow what you're doing and also understand what the debate or conversation is in your specific field. So the next step is to pick the context that the proposal will fit into. Most CATESOlers, not all, will probably choose ESL, English as a second or other language, because most of our presentations are going to focus on things that are relevant to California and like contexts. But this is an international conference, unlike CATESOL, and so we probably won't be picking some of these other contexts. You could possibly choose all of the above if the content really works in any context, and you have example from those different contexts. Or if your proposal focuses on something like teacher wellness, which really may or may not matter in terms of what context a teacher is working in, or the local context is very important but becomes part of the discussion that you're having with everyone in the room. The next question on the proposal form and on the fillable PDF worksheet asks you to select an educational context. You get to pick one primary, which is required, and one secondary, which is not. And this can be a little bit difficult for some instructors. For example, if you're a community college instructor, do you want to pick academic English or adult education? Well, I really think you need to think about your content. If it's really about teaching an academic skill or articulation from a community college to a university, then you really want to choose academic English as your primary, especially if you're teaching credit ESL in a community college. Your secondary educational context allows you to expand on what you've chosen for your first context so that you can broaden your audience and also show that this particular proposal does, in fact, cross these different contexts. Next, you want to think about your focus. And this is really important because it's also going to affect which reviewer gets assigned your proposal. So TESOL gives you 4 possibilities. There's practice or pedagogy oriented, there's research oriented, there's conceptually oriented, and then there's policy oriented. So let's do an example together. I'm going to use the example of trauma and trauma-informed teaching. So if you're discussing materials and activities for trauma-informed teaching, clearly you want to choose practice or pedagogy oriented. If you've designed research, even classroom-based research, on the needs of refugees who've experienced trauma, you'll want to choose research. If you want us to rethink how we frame and discuss trauma or trauma-informed pedagogy or students who have faced trauma and how we address their concerns, you want to choose conceptual. Now, if your session discusses, let's say, how you promote the understanding of trauma and its impact to affect policy change, or if you want to highlight the insufficiency of certain policies to address the needs of recent refugee populations, you want to choose policy. Hope this example helps. Okay, the next question focuses on session type. So if you have a research presentation, 30 minutes might be good for a presentation slot. It fits that standard 20 minutes of discussing your research and 10 minutes of Q&A from research-oriented conferences. And this could be very good practice if you're planning on attending, let's say, AAAL, the American Association of Applied Linguists Conference, or something like that. For most teaching presentations, you want to consider a teaching tip if your focus is on one activity, and you can give a handout showing some variation on that, or choose 45 minutes to discuss a sequence and allow for a lot of Q&A. Now, dialogue and discussion is just that. It's not a formal presentation of your work or activities. In the session, dialogue leaders should present an issue and a few framing questions, and then open up the floor to discussion. And in the proposal, leaders should show their depth of understanding of the issue and the debate surrounding it, and then list their plan for the session. So framing the issue, here are the questions, here's how I'm going to open the floor. Because reviewers really want to know that you're not going to turn this into a formal presentation. So for a workshop, you want to remember, too, that this is not just a show and tell. It's an interactive, hands-on session. Your proposal needs to show how you'll frame the issue and topic, and how you'll engage participants in the creation of materials or other products. It has to be clear that participants will craft something that they'll take away from the session. If you think that your proposal fits that, then great. As for the next step, step 6, we recommend that you say yes. Go ahead. There's a chance if the program's very, very crowded or other items that are other proposals that are talking about a similar topic as yours, they're going to have to choose very judiciously as to which presentations get 45-minute or 30-minute slots. But you may be able to get your proposal accepted as a poster session. So unless you're very, very dependent on live video or something like that, we always recommend that you say yes. You can always change your focus up a little bit and change your approach to make it fit a poster session and get accepted. So you may think step 7 is kind of difficult. It may be hard to anticipate your audience size. A couple of strategies that I've picked up over the years. If it's a teaching tip, generally I think they're going to say 50 or fewer. But if it's a really hot topic like AI, I'm going to bet that you might want to pick 51 to 99. And that's the same for panel discussions. Also, if your proposal has the word activities in the title, that's often a big draw at TESOL as it is at CATESOL. So that might affect your picking something like 51 to 99 over 50. But don't worry. In the end, I think all of these are looked at by the conference's professional counsel, and they'll make a final decision about room size. One thing to remember, there's a little bit of a disconnect between what it says in the directions here and what it says in the 4 choices. You can ignore the teaching tip not applicable in the overall directions and follow the directions on the 4 multiple choice answers. Really only choose not applicable if it's a poster session. If you're doing a teaching tip, go ahead and choose a room size. Okay. All right, so now we get into the actual writing of the proposal. So the first thing that they'll ask for is the title of your presentation. And we've reproduced here for you the rules for titles. Right? It says to follow the rules, but then it doesn't give you the rules here. It gives you the rules on another page. So we've gone ahead and given them to you here. Maximum of 10 words. The hyphens are going to count as, hyphenated words are going to count as 2, so don't try that unless you really want a hyphenated word. Use only approved acronyms. All others should be spelled out. If you need a list of acronyms, if you go back to the important documents, there is a page that talks about that. Don't use exclamation marks and try to use question marks judiciously, just as I tell my writing students. As for capitalization, you want to capitalize the first letter, all major words, words after a hyphen, slash, or colon, and all words 4 letters or more, including prepositions. And then here's a proper title example for you. An examination of self-identification, colon, identity with reflection. You'll note that the word with is capitalized. As for the abstract, please note that the abstract, along with the title, is what appears in the program itself. So it needs to be clear to your intended audience, and it needs to accurately reflect the content of your presentation. We also recommend that you think about putting your takeaways into your abstract. That's a good selling point for your audience. And keywords in the body of the abstract are also important. One for the review process, but also for the marketing of your session and the actual program. Program is online. People can search for keywords, and you want your keywords search to land. You want the keyword search to land on your presentation so you get more people to come. All right, so now we get to the big thing, the session description, the moment you've all been waiting for. This, of course, is the longest part and the main part of the proposal process. The session description is your chance to show your knowledge of the topic, that you will be discussing. This is your chance to show that you've done your homework and that you've created a presentation that fills a need or a niche in the field that you're working in. So please follow the guidelines that are given here on the slide, and make sure that you also take a look at those, what is listed under your description should include. These bullet points highlight kind of the main things that the reviewers are looking for, what they're anticipating and expecting in your proposal. Now, some of you might want a little bit more practice in creating a session description, because these can be tricky and they're a very specific genre with, as I said, very specific expectations on the part of reviewers. So if you haven't written a lot of these and you want more practice, you might want to go ahead and take a look at the slideshow that the QR code will take you to. This slideshow is based on 500 successful TESOL proposals. There's a list, there's kind of a template or a list of moves that you want to make within the session description that follow the expectations of the proposal raters. And there are many examples and sample proposals that can help you as you craft your own. Well, thanks for listening. That's pretty much the proposal process in a nutshell. I want to take this opportunity on the behalf of Susan Gaer and the CATESOL organization to say to please join in and to join us, and to take the opportunity to propose something for TESOL to share your successes with an international population. Okay, hope to see you all in Long Beach.